A monitor is a monitor, right? A piece of glass and electronics that puts out what you put in, like colors and detail and brightness and all the elements that make this image come to life. And to get there, it comes from here. And from here comes the information that puts those images on the screen. Precise information in the electronic signal that dictates how the picture should look and how the monitor should display it. The question becomes, is your monitor accurately interpreting all this information? Are you really seeing what's represented in the signal? In the next few minutes, you'll see some of the things your monitor may be doing, right or wrong, and maybe get to know more about how you see things.
Together we'll answer a simple basic question. Is this display device telling you exactly what's on this cable? And the answer is, probably not. But let's find out if it's even close. For example, have you noticed what's going on so far in this program? No, don't go to the trouble of rewinding the tape, I'll tell you. The images you have been watching have real and induced errors.
These changes are on the video signal, but you may not be able to see them on your monitor. After all, this monitor is a communication tool. It entails more than simply showing a picture and hoping that the colors are close enough so the images make sense. The power of the message delivered on the screen is very much determined by how well the images are put together. Every link in the communication chain needs to be strong. But perhaps the most important link comes at the end of the chain, the monitor, the device that is supposed to show you what's been happening in all of the other video links. Take your time with this challenge and feel free to stop the tape. Review a section or question and make sure you are convinced of your answer.
So let's get started. Here are the rules. I'm going to run through a series of questions which are based on what is happening on the screen. If you watch carefully and follow the questions, all you have to do is enter the correct answer to each question on the test sheet enclosed with this tape.
Ready for question 1? Let's start with something difficult. Do you recognize this test signal? Don't worry about your answer, because there is no right or wrong for this one.
I'm going to take control of your set for a moment. Look at the right side of the test pattern. If the contrast control is set too high, there will be an enlargement or blooming of one or more of the bright rectangles, like this. In the video test pattern, all the rectangles are the same size. How does that relate to real picture information? Here's some typical program material. While watching the size of the peak white areas of the picture, move the contrast control through its entire range.
Question 2. At what position do you see blooming? A. Counterclockwise to 1/4. B. 1/4 to 1/2. C. 1/2 to 3/4. D. 3/4 to full. E. No blooming at any position. F. No point where it stops blooming.
Leave the contrast control at the point of blooming, if it is happening, and let's investigate picture detail.
Question 3. What is happening to the picture detail around the area of blooming? A. There is more detail in the picture. B. The color of the white changes to something less blue. C. It seems to be out of focus. D. Details around the area of blooming are obscured. E. The entire picture looks soft.
What you've actually been adjusting with the contrast control is the peak white level of the picture. Before we go any further, reset it to a point below any blooming in the picture.
Depending on the monitor you are using, you may or may not be able to see all the subtle elements of the picture, including some of the mistakes. But rest assured that they'll show up on someone else's monitor, or they'll complicate an edit session, or make a duplication run impossible. You see, there's more to this challenge than the curiosity factor. What your monitor may not show you could cost you, embarrass you in front of a client, send you back to the edit room, or destroy a production.
Now let's look at the other side of the scale. Setting the black level using the brightness or black level control. If I take over the set again for a moment and raise the brightness, you should see 3 distinct levels of dark gray. The correct setting of the brightness control is obtained when the dark stripe and the test pattern background match and level, with the lighter stripe still being visible. Now take a look at this plooge pattern, this time with something different on the right side of the pattern. Now it's your turn to set the brightness control so that the blacker than black stripe and the black background match and level. Remember that you will have to be able to see the stripe that is slightly lighter than black. Got it? Now let's switch back to the original plooge pattern.
Question 4. When the image changed, did the black level appear to change? A. Yes. B. No. C. The lighter than black strip disappeared.
Now we'll do the same thing using real video, flipping between two scenes that each contain black. In fact, I'll place a bit of plooge in each one so you'll have an absolute reference for black in each scene.
Question 5. Is your monitor holding black at black regardless of picture? A. Yes. B. No.
Now that we've played with brightness and contrast, let's see how your monitor does in picture detail. Take a close look at this SMPTE resolution chart, especially at the horizontal resolution wedges.
Question 6. What kind of horizontal resolution are you seeing? A. About 250 lines with lots of color at higher line rates. B. About 300 lines with a little bit of color at higher line rates. C. About 400 lines with no color information in the resolution wedge. D. About 450 lines. E. What lines? Question 7. Which appears to have the greatest resolution? A. B. C. D.
On most monitors, sharpness is adjusted using either the aperture or the sharpness control. Let me show you what it does to the picture, and then let you make the proper adjustment. Note that in the line edges, there are no levels higher than the background, no added artifacts, or at least there shouldn't be. Now, if your monitor is still showing any artifacts, reduce the aperture or sharpness control until they are eliminated.
Watch this next scene carefully, because it is our next 2 questions. Question 8. At which letter do you see extra lines added to the picture? Question 9. Are these extra lines part of the information that is supposed to be displayed?
Let's talk color. The color of grayscale will significantly affect the color in a real picture. If your monitor is set up properly, the color of gray in each of these steps will be both neutral and uniform in color from black to white.
That brings us to question 10. Which of these looks neutral on your monitor? Mark D if you see no difference.
Now look at these images in the same context.
Question 11. Which section has the most neutral gray? A, B, C. Now let's look at the monitor's ability to reproduce a single level of video in a uniform manner over the entire surface of the picture.
Here we have a flat field for a video signal. No change in color or signal level anywhere in the active picture area. I realize that this may not be exactly what you're seeing on the screen. Let me exaggerate the circumstances a little, simulating a worst-case example, and then eventually go back to a pure flat field. There are a number of changes you might be seeing. Here is an example of lack of color uniformity in the flat field. Now light uniformity. And finally a combination of the two.
This challenge has covered some of the basics of monitor setup and image quality, but there is still more. The image on your monitor is created from the red, green, and blue phosphors in the CRT. The SMPTE standard for these phosphors provides a basis for consistency across all monitors, but even that doesn't guarantee uniformity from monitor to monitor.
For example, the NTSC to RGB decoder in a monitor can improperly translate the incoming signal information. Even when the monitor has been set up properly on SMPTE color bars, a misadjusted decoder can seriously affect your picture.
Depending on what you are using for this challenge, you may or may not have the capability to check and adjust all the aspects of your monitor. This is why there are so many different monitors, ranging from basic presentation to high-end evaluation. Depending on your application, you need to select the one that best fits your needs. More control and greater precision comes with the high-end broadcast monitors like Sony's BVM series. But you should assess your own needs and the quality of the monitor you require. It's our guess that TV pictures may take on a slightly different light in your eyes from now on. In fact, you may want to run this tape more than once on more than one monitor. We hope you've had fun in this experience. And now when someone says, a monitor is a monitor, right? What are you going to say?